Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Artworks for Teachers. I'm Susan Riley, your host, and today I am thrilled to bring you a certification graduate, Sheila Garth. But this is an interview that's a little bit different than what we normally discuss. Yes, Sheila is a graduate of our certification program in arts integration. But Sheila has also become an EdTech entrepreneur along with being an active school counselor. So, in our discussion today, we're going to actually talk about, yes, some arts integration components and what they're doing at their school in arts integration. But we're also going to talk about how going through learning about arts integration and taking risks with arts integration, as well as being an educator, can prompt you to become an entrepreneur and what that entrepreneurial journey could look like. And Sheila and I talk a lot about the risks that are involved, the successes, the challenges, how to set that up. And you even get a little bit of behind the scenes of our organization and my journey as an entrepreneur. So I think you're really going to love this episode. Let me just introduce you to Sheila real quick. She is an elementary school counselor on Johns Island, South Carolina. She has a master's degree in school counseling and a passion for childhood development. You're going to hear that through our interview. She also uses arts integration lessons in school counseling in order to facilitate self-awareness, creativity, social skills, and personal growth. And so as an arts integration specialist and school counselor, she also has written a resource book for school counselors through Youth Light Inc. So definitely be sure to check out her book as well. So without further ado, here's Sheila. Well, welcome, Sheila. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk to you today and share our passion for arts integration together.
Absolutely. So, for people who may not know, you are a graduate of our Arts Integration Certification program. But outside of that, I would love for you to share who you are, your arts integration journey, and what you're up to now.
Sure. I guess I've been an educator for about 18 years at this point. So, 9 as a teacher and then as a school counselor. And I guess I started my arts integration journey 6 or 7 years ago. It's been a while. I feel like I've been
Yeah.
on it for a while. I was part of your cohort for level 1 and level 2, which was an amazing jump start for knowledge to be able to continue this. And so currently, we moved during the pandemic from Georgia to South Carolina,
Mhm.
and I get to live by the beach, which is amazing. And
Oh,
I'm currently a
yes.
school counselor at an arts integrated school. So I get to use this all the time, and I I love sharing my passion with teachers and other and students, and it's allowed me to continue that. And I've also been able to write my write articles and publish a workbook on arts integration. So it's really, really, really exciting, and it's been a fun journey so far.
Absolutely. So now, lots of people who enter arts integration are coming at it either from the classroom perspective or from the arts teacher perspective, but you're coming at it from school counseling. So, how do you see arts integration supporting your work as a school counselor and perhaps even the social emotional learning that you're helping students to kind of work through?
Sure, I think that art is naturally connected to counseling. A lot of licensed professional counselors use art therapy, so I think we're naturally using that as a resource as counselors anyways. And as a school counselor, I use a lot of it with my whole group instruction to show cooperation. So we might do a lesson where I'll put students in small groups, and let's say we read a story called Claymates, where these interactive clay characters work together, and then they at each table have to create one character together using the tools that they have, but they have to cooperate and communicate and problem solve and negotiate. And these authentic strategies, these authentic opportunities come about so that I'm able to teach them these social emotional skills in real time, but they're also really invested in it. They're passionate about what they're doing, and they want to figure it out and want to have those authentic conversations together because they're really excited to create, for example, a clay character from the story. And it's really cool to see it all unfold in real time and to give feedback in real time based on what I'm noticing with them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful to do it that way. So, can you share some ideas of ways that arts integration can impact either character development or social emotional learning or how our students are interacting with one another? Because I know that that has been a pain point for a lot of people.
Sure. So there's kind of lots of ways to address it. So like one thing that we did to support the entire school with arts integration and social emotional is we got a grant and made an amazing arts integrated sensory wall for students to interact with, which is really really cool. And so that was that was just tier one strategies. Another thing that we did is we made sensory arts integrated sensory spaces for each classroom to be able to utilize and have access to. And so not only from the counseling perspective are we saying what standards can we cover, within that we're saying how can we use the arts to support them socially and emotionally in a space where they can find some coping strategies, feel better, and then go back to class to learn. And that's kind of the impact that I've seen it have as well. Not only just the content that it can provide, but also just the coping strategies it can give students while they're at school.
Sure. So I'm curious about this sensory wall. So expand on that a little bit. Like, what does it look like? What do they sense? What kind of opportunities does that provide?
Yeah, so it was really, really amazing. So we were able to get this grant, we live, like I said, we live by the ocean, so we made this nautical interactive sensory wall, and it has like a steering wheel and these light up turtle lights that light up, and like there's sensory squares that they can step on, and like we had a nautical specialist made these nautical knots and like tie it back to our island and how different knots work within sailing. So it was really cool, and they can interact with that and kind of see all the different things, how art ties into actual occupations as well. And we made it's kind of like in a nook in the back of our school, and we put a curtain there, so it's kind of private, but we can still see them. But it's so cool, and they love going there, and it just helps them, self-regulate if they need to, and it's a lot of fun for sure.
I love that. I mean, just all of the ways that that connects both with your community and makes it personal for them because it's something that they can relate to, but also as a way for them to escape and imagine and play and engage. That's just fascinating to me. I love that. And how cool that you have like turtles that light up and stuff. That's awesome. I'd play back there.
It's cool. And then we have a treasure chest, and we trade out some of the sensory things and the art things each couple weeks, so that way it's kind of new and fresh, so they're excited to see what's in the treasure box as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we know that arts integration isn't just for students, right? That teachers can benefit from this as well. And I don't think that's something that we talk about nearly as often as we talk about all of the impacts that it can have on students. What are some ways that you've seen the arts and arts integration support teacher well-being, and how have you worked with teachers around that?
So what I've noticed, and I think teachers that really get into arts integration realize, is that it's fun to do.
Yeah.
It's fun to make lessons. It's fun to see, if you're passionate about students, it's cool to see the lesson that you create, but then how it all unfolds and how they are naturally able to do these lessons that you make. And it's the fun creative process of pulling in an art that you're comfortable with or an art that you're passionate about to make these fun lessons for kids. And I've noticed the more that I get into making arts integrated lessons, it's exciting to make it, and then it's exciting to see it come to fruition when the student does the activity.
Yeah.
I think part of that's, it allows us to be creative as educators as well. It's not just, here's your workbook, here's your worksheet, let's read a story. It allows us to also have a love for what we're doing again, because we could have more ownership in the lesson itself and be part of that creative process with students.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, when we go to college to become educators, I don't think the dream is that we're standing in a room reading from a script and then handing students just the materials that have been handed to us. I think, we envisioned impacting students and creating these experiences. And so I think this brings it back. And I totally agree. I've seen teachers just kind of light up when they've started to use arts integration. It's scary at first, but I think once they see the student engagement with it, and that a flop is okay, right? That a flop is part of the creative process, and that you can still run with it, that teachers just love it. And that's one of the things I really love to see. Now, I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit because I know that you're also a new entrepreneur as well, right? You have a business, and an EdTech business at that. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about that piece.
Yes, it I guess it still is a long journey. I think entrepreneurship is exciting and scary all at the same time because
Mm-hmm.
you're not sure what's going to happen. And but yeah, so as you know, as a teacher and school counselor, I recognize that students are really struggling with regulating their emotional needs throughout the day. And also, teachers don't necessarily have the strategies to support them or time to support them in real time, but we need to know how kids are feeling. So I created a company called My Moodlies. We're still in development, so we're still trying to slowly move forward with it. But what it does is uses adorable interactive characters to allow students to check in with their feelings. And then the teachers can kind of see, and school counselors and administration can see how the students are doing, and then also provide interventions and strategies that we create that are going to be arts integrated strategies and interventions to support them in real time. So it's not necessarily a curriculum, but more rather to say, what can I give you right? I realize that you're anxious, or I realize that you're frustrated. What can I give you right now to help you move past that so we can go back to learning? Because as a counselor, my job is to say, what strategies and interventions can I give you so that you feel happy and safe so that you're able to go back to learning to do that? And so, then teachers don't have to they can say, anxiety, student K2, and they can print it out or send it to the student, and then they can have it in real time. And we can look at trends. Like if there's a student that's upset every Monday, what's the trend that's happening with them that they're feeling that way? What do we notice? What patterns do we notice? So not only is it there to really identify crisis situations, but also to say, do we notice any trends in the students on Monday versus another day? Just to see global trends, classroom trends, and individual student needs and helping them in real time.
That's amazing, Sheila. That's amazing because that's something that I think every teacher could use. And I love the idea of being able to immediately support the student where they are, with strategies that we know are proven that work and then that can help to that student to re-regulate so that they can come back and be fully focused in the lesson themselves. Plus the data and trends. I think that that will be super powerful, in order to look for ways that we can maybe avoid some of those situations, right? So that we can hit them head on without having them actually become a situation itself. That's really powerful. And so I'm curious, first of all, how did you come up with the idea? How did you and what steps have you had along the journey so far?
So I had the idea a few years ago, actually, even before COVID, and I just kind of dabbled in it and dabbled in it. And then when the whole transition happened and we moved, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna go for it. And I know it's a risk. I know I'm taking a long shot, but I would regret not doing it. And ironically, now that we're doing this, I felt like I was almost predicting like what we would need. We all saw the trends happening toward social emotional needs and mental health and how that was happening. And so now I think more than ever we need to be in that space. And I just every couple of years I would think about it, and then finally we decided to make the characters. We made the logo. I just have slowly been moving forward with it. I think the tricky part is patience.
Mm.
Patience. Things are not going as fast as I would like. So, but I think that's just with any big adventure that you go on.
Yeah.
And I think it's also getting people to see value in it, because
Mm.
it is a big cost to build it. It's a big cost to build it. But I think once we get there and once we're able to put it into fruition, we have some schools already interested in being part of the pilot as we're building it, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So I know baby steps, but we're getting there. And I think next couple months it'll slowly move forward as we continue. But I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And entrepreneurship, just, I know that you and I have had conversations about this already, that entrepreneurship is such a roller coaster ride that I don't think a lot of people realize. And, I love and admire the teachers who, for a side hustle, work on, share their lessons on TPT, start a website and share what they're learning. I think there's value in all of it. Um, and that's certainly how I started, was just sharing ideas on a website. But what you're doing requires a lot of moving pieces. I mean, you're talking about moving slowly and being patient, which I think is a lesson that all of us are working on. And I feel like, the universe gives us things to practice, right? And I'm ready to tell the universe sometimes I'm done with that lesson. I don't need any more patience. Thank you very much. Let's move on. But for something in the ed tech field, especially coming from education and not having any knowledge of like Silicon Valley or the ins and outs of all of that, I can only imagine how difficult it has been to try to figure those things out. Have you been able to secure a mentor, or do you have a way, like, how did you figure out some of the ed tech space so that you can be moving forward in this creation?
Yeah, so I ironically, I like LinkedIn stalked people that were local entrepreneurs and technology experts, and I did find a mentor. I do have a mentor that's kind of guiding me, and I've had opportunities to pitch to investors. We're still kind of, I did my first round of pitching 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was very nerve-wracking but exciting at the same time. I felt like I was on Shark Tank. So I'm
Mhm.
not sure what's going to happen with that, but it was still an amazing experience to be able to do it, and recognizing when I get excited or nervous, I talk quickly, and so that's something I have to work on while
Yes.
while I do this. So it's interesting to find out where growth opportunities are. I
Mm.
recognize I'm going to have to pitch to a lot of people before this comes to fruition, and I have to remind myself of that as well. I can't just assume like, oh, everyone loves my idea or everyone is passionate about what I'm doing, and I have to recognize also that investors are investing their time and possibly money into what I'm doing also. So that's a risk that they're taking also. And I think that's going to be the biggest, well, at this point, the biggest hurdle is getting to that point where if we find, and also I don't want to just find an investor that wants to, I want them to feel passionate about what we're doing also, because
Yes.
that'll be a working relationship as well.
Yeah.
So it's the wanting to move forward, but also not like wanting to desperately move forward and making bad decisions along the way. Finding that balance of the two.
Yes, yes, that's such a tricky piece. And I don't know about you, but find so many parallels in entrepreneurship, especially in the education space, with teaching and in arts integration, because like you said, it's nerve-wracking to put yourself out there, to know how to perform, if you will, in order to get the pitch going, right? And seeing yourself on camera. I think we do that as well in teaching and in arts integration. Like we talked earlier, that arts integration can be nerve wracking for a lot of people to get started, but it's once you get the ball rolling, so many benefits and learning and growth opportunities can be found. Have you found parallels? Like, have you found that your teaching background or your arts integration background or both have maybe able to support you in your entrepreneurship journey?
I think yes. I think the biggest one is that it's taking risks,
Mm.
and I think that getting comfortable with being uncomfortable motto of doing that. And I think by doing the arts integration spot, like, and I also feel like I'm better at understanding my content, and as I make resources, I'm better understanding how my resources that we make are more valuable. So not only do I feel like I'm able to adapt better and be flexible with change in uncomfortable situations, I also feel better prepared to support and make resources that support academics, that support social emotional, that support creative engagement because of that. And so, yeah, I think I'm much better well-rounded as I begin this journey because of that arts integration background,
For
and
sure.
it
For
helped
sure.
it helped me with it helps me personally and professionally. I love talking about it. I love using it, and I'm excited to make some fun resources that they can engage with. And so just thinking about, that's the fun part of this too. It's like managing the business is not as much fun, but making the resources is way more, so much more fun. I have to think about that too. Luckily, my husband is actually has IT and business background, so
Mm.
he is helping me tremendously with this business. I think between the two of us, we have 80% of this figured out as far as like
Wow.
what we need to do. Marketing, I have no idea. I have no idea how to do marketing. No idea. But we'll figure it out. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. So, but it's great to have his help too. So we're kind of, I'm not alone in building the business where I have, I have no business background. So it's nice to have him with the IT and business background to kind of help with that, which I am super thankful for. And I'm
Yeah,
glad he's on this journey with me.
absolutely. And I'm right there with you. Like, When I first started, it was just me, and I was literally just sharing resources. And then it kind of grew, and I was able to have, fortunately, people who were on this journey as well, and I was able to partner with them and learn from them and grow our team that way, just kind of organically. Many of those people have stuck with me since the very beginning. But my husband also actually came on board last year for things that I'm not good at. Like, I'm not good at seeking out partnerships with organizations, like, and funding partners and all of that kind of stuff. That's just like you. That's not me. That's not my wheelhouse. But he's really good at that. He's really good at sales and working with, large organizations and school districts. And so I'm thankful that, I can be on that journey with him as well. I think it's great when you can have a partner that you trust, and that it feels like you're building something together, which I think is such a special thing, as a family. And I loved your point that not only does your teaching background help you in development of this, but what you're developing in real time is also supporting you professionally. I think that's so wonderful that it can go back and forth like that. And I think it's the best kind of learning, right? It's the best kind of way to make sure that what we're doing is relevant and meaningful, because so much of what we did 5 years ago, no matter, it is no longer relevant, really, because things change at such a rapid pace. So, we talked about a little bit about your biggest challenges. What do you see as some of your biggest successes so far?
Wow. Okay. I guess the the opportunity and decision to move forward with my dreams. Like I feel
Mhm.
that is a success. That the fact that I was like, you know what, it's like we're gonna do this. And when
Yep.
we moved during the pandemic, my mom's like, "Are you really moving to another state with a 1-year-old during a pandemic?" And I was like, "I sure am." And I was proud of that too. I was proud of that too. And I know that it doesn't seem as big of a deal, but it's like, there's chaos happening, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we're moving during chaos. And I think the successes are saying like, I don't. People are scared of taking risks, and my dad was in the military and we moved so much. Maybe that's why I enjoy change, but I
Mhm.
truly enjoy change, and I truly enjoy growth. I mean, after 7 years of being a teacher, I was like, I'm going to be a school counselor. Now after, being a school counselor, I'm going to start a business. Like I enjoy the evolution of
Yes.
learning new things and building new things and creating new things that I'll always want to do that. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm proud of myself for.
Yeah.
The ability to do those things and not worry about outcomes to the point that it's debilitating to not do
Mm.
it.
Yes. Yes. The line in the sand of the decision, right? Don't you find that there's peace in just being able to make the decision and saying, this is it. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm proud of you for that, because there are so many people who just churn and churn and churn and churn and churn. And I want to tell them all the time,
Just
just
do
make the
it.
decision. Just say, here's what I'm going to do, and then do it. And if it was the wrong decision, I guarantee you there will be a pathway to pivot. Right? But you got to make the decision. So, I think that you've made that decision, and you're moving along which no matter what. And I think that's awesome. So what keeps you motivated in this project? I know that it's going more slowly than you want. So how do you keep motivated to keep going with it?
I set like a major goal that I want to accomplish, and I also allow myself the creative freedom to like make things that I enjoy making within that space. So like looking at different characters I want to make, or like a little lesson that I think is fun to do. So I'm trying to balance here's what I have to get done versus here's what I want to get done.
Mm-hmm.
I also recognize, my husband and I actually debate on this. Like I feel like I want to focus on things that I'm really really great at and like outsource or
Mm-hmm.
like give someone else the ability to do that so I can focus on what I'm really great at. And of course, I recognize as entrepreneurs, we have to know all the ins and outs, but I don't want to be an expert in all the ins and outs. I want to be able to use my energy to focus on what I really, really have control over and I'm really, really great at. And 85% of my time needs to go toward that.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you have to learn. You're going to own a business. You have to know it all. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have to because that'll drive me crazy.
No, that's smart, Sheila, because I've learned all of that. Like, I've taken the time to learn all of that, and then you fall into the trap of, I could probably do it cheaper than I could outsource it. But does it mean that I should be doing it rather than allowing somebody else whose area of genius is there to come in and just support me? So you're doing it the smart way, conserving your energy on focusing on what it is that you're best at. I'm always curious about what's your why, because I think your why drives so much of your motivation in the hard times, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I want students to be. I want mental health to not be the stigma, and like, I want it to be a space where we don't have to necessarily say like, I'm sad and this is why and this is why and this is why and this is why. But if you think about it, from day to day, people will say I have a headache, I have a stomach ache, I'm feeling a little nauseous today. People have no problems disclosing their general medical
Mm-hmm.
states throughout the day. But
Yeah.
I don't ever hear people say, I'm feeling kind of sad today. And you don't have to share why, but like if knowing that if someone shares that with me, I'm going to be more cautious or more aware of how I interact with them throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day. And that's kind of where I'm hoping, you know, of course I want to help students in big crisis situations, but I want it to be where the teacher can say, hey guys, I'm feeling kind of grumpy today. Like, I want us to be able to have that conversation, just the blanket statement, here's how I'm feeling. And I get that feelings are fluid, but like, let's share them. So that way we can help each other throughout the day and how we interact with each other, as opposed to pretending everything is fine all the time. You know, we don't have to be
Mm.
vulnerable to be honest. And I think just sharing basic feelings is it's a tad bit vulnerable, but then we're fine sharing again medical things quite randomly as society, you know. So why not share the basics of here's how we're feeling in general, to share that knowledge and to know that about each other.
Yeah, I think that's a super powerful why, because I agree. We don't talk enough about mental health especially in this country, and the stigmas behind it being, what people typically think about in terms of mental health. If it's depression, is there something wrong with you, and having to go in that huge amount of depth. I think what you're doing is amazing, because it's a small step, but it's a powerful step. Just being able to recognize our feelings, and I love what you're doing about making connections, because as humans, we are wired that way. We want to help one another. We want to support and connect with one another. And just knowing how someone else is feeling, you're right. If not just cautious, but I might be a little kinder to you than I would have generally been. And that's on me. So that also allows me to reflect and think, why wouldn't I be that way all the time? If I'm being kinder today because she's not having a good day, well then, can I be kinder more often? Can I make that a general state for myself? So I think you're also improving just human relationships and how we think to ourselves, and be more mindful of how we approach the world. So
And that's important.
I love that why. That's great.
And I also
If there's one thing you'd love people to know about, I always say about creativity, but if you want to pivot on this about mental health or how we're working on that in the world, what would it be?
yeah, I guess I don't. The thing is really important is like, let's not think about mental health of like zero problems to like crisis problems. Like most people are in this middle where there's like day to day feelings that they're processing and dealing with, you know. And so I think if we meet each other there and we're aware of those the day to days of feelings, that's kind of how we'll make progress with mental health and supporting mental health, and using arts integration and having those strategies, those creative strategies, is a super effective way of helping people and children, adults and children, navigate their feelings with that creative process. Creativity is an emotional outlet that you can
Mm.
utilize, whether you're learning about something or not, or just using it to help manage feelings. And I think
Mhm.
that's the power of the arts as well, is helping people self-regulate. You know, photography, drawing, painting, music, and there's so many different art forms that help us self-regulate naturally, and that's
Yeah,
why it's amazing.
absolutely. Well, Sheila, where can people find you or stay in touch with you?
Sure. So you can email me at info@mymoodleys.com, or you can check out my LinkedIn, Sheila-Garth at LinkedIn profile.
Awesome. We will make sure to put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your incredible journey. I'm so excited for you and where you're going
Thank you
next.
so much. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.